I believe the hope we have for this world is directly correlated to how often we allow ourselves to dream. And frankly, I'm fucking over people putting dreams in boxes of what's realistic or sensible or practical when we'd never ask that of hope. I know you feel tired. I do too. We're doing it anyway. A podcast for tired dreamers, unpacking the expectations, the conditioning, the fear and shame alongside other cages we may not yet know we're living inside. By the way, I'm Cait. Let's get into it. Oh, geez, people. It's been... When's the last time I talked to you? A week ago? Oh, my gosh. I'm back in Bend, as you heard on Monday when the episode last came out. And it has not stopped snowing. I mean, it's stopped. It's not been snowing for a week straight. But I've just got to be honest with you. Like, I am so over the snow. And it's really starting to drain the life out of me as far as, being inspired to create. It's really put a damper on a bunch of things. But the last week has been pretty cool because if any of you, oh, well, my curtain fell down. If any of you follow me on Instagram or TikTok, then you've probably seen how I've been sharing a little bit more of the behind the scenes of my life, probably around 2 months ago, maybe, November, the end of the year, somewhere along there. I can't believe it's fucking March already. It's just, I swear, I feel like it's January and January takes the longest, and then I sneeze and it's Christmas. Like the middle of the year just goes by so quickly. And that, time is such a weird thing. But anyway, what was I saying? So the last, probably towards the end of the year, I started getting into, not getting into, but really, focusedly, is that even a word? I don't know. Exploring the energetics of crystals and herbalism and things like that. And so as you know, everything in the entire planet and then some, not just the planet, not just our planet, but the entire universe, it carries energy. It has energy. That's why, it has, and that energy has a frequency. That's why when people put, headphones on plants or, little, things on plants, you can, not headphones, don't walk up to your Monstera and put AirPods on it. It's not going to work. But they have, these specialized machines that, this equipment that you can pick up the radio frequencies or the frequencies coming off of plants. And similarly, everything in this entire, universe is like that. Every single thing has a frequency. And, the law of manifestation and just how powerful visualization exercises are and why people recommend meditating and things like that. And so I rabbit hole very, very often, and especially because in the work that I do and, in my own spiritual practice, but also in my coaching practice, there's a lot that has to do with, the first thing that I do with everyone is, we have to bring awareness to what you believe about yourself and what you believe about your life, because when we get to the heart of what those things are for you, then we can address the fear that is coming up and the stories that you tell yourself around those fears. And ultimately, those are what I kind of refer to as the cages of your life. And oftentimes you're not going to be able to, there needs to be a separation in order to facilitate this deep dive, unless you spend countless hours really analyzing your thought patterns and your behavior. And other than me in my life, I've never met anybody else that's so fascinated by their, like, I use myself as a case study almost every single day. And it's exhausting, but I've learned so much about it. And one of the things that I've learned is that, you know, even thoughts, all thoughts carry energy on that can be recorded. It's like every time you have a thought, like there's electrical current that goes through it. And so, then there's a book that's like, that's called The Untethered Soul. And so that book, I can't remember who the author is. I'm sure that it feels so silly that I can't remember who the author is right now. But basically, it just comes down to the concept that if you can witness a thought, then it is separate from your being. Like if you can bring awareness to a thought or like a state of something, then it's outside of you. And if it's outside of you, then what is it? And if you can bring awareness to who you are, then if it's outside of you, it's like being able to look at something. If you can bring awareness to it, then it's outside of you and it's separate from you. Then like your thoughts and your being is not your body. They're two different things. And if you can like become a witness to your own conscious state, then is it possible that your conscious state is not a thing that exists simply because it's inside of your body? And so then it explores like if it's not a thing if it's separate, if you're conscious, if your self, that electrical current, that frequency, that thought, that like sense of self is separate from your body, just because when your body, breaks down over time or when you die, what if those things house energy, or like the body is the container for the energy, but the energy is separate from the body, then when the body, like I just said, breaks down, what then becomes of the energy? If we all know to be true that energy cannot be destroyed, it is only, transferred, or, it just moves somewhere else. And if the body allows us to study that energy, then because it's like housed inside of this vessel, just because we wouldn't know where to study, like we wouldn't have an object to study the electrical frequency inside. Therefore, does that mean that it doesn't exist? And to be honest with you, no, I don't think so. And if that's like, the essence of what a soul is, I think that's powerful. And I think that that's really cool. And it's like, okay, then where does the energy go? The energy that, that's inside this vessel, where does it go after our body is no longer functioning? And, obviously there's cases to be made about, heaven and, does like the star seed of your soul then return to the planet that, that we were given our divine assignment from? I don't know. There's just like so much possibility, and I just get really excited about. So why am I talking about any of this? So I've been obviously very fascinated with this, the idea of energy, and this, not the concept of energy because energy is an actual thing, but just, how it is transmuted through things in this, like on this 3-dimensional plane that we live on. And recently, so I've been getting super into, the manifestation and what that means, and and visualization exercises. And so as an athlete, like, we were always taught about this growing up, at least for me, and I think it's pretty common for all athletes, that you hear about this, is like visualize yourself, scoring the goal, visualize the ball going into the net, like visualize this thing. And I genuinely, putting 2 and 2 concepts together, because this is who I am, and this is just, maybe you're listening to this right now and you're like, Cait, my brain is already fried. How are we gonna take this one step further? We'll just go with me here. Is if like visualization it's such a powerful tool because essentially the way the brain works is that the brain doesn't know the difference between a powerful visualization exercise and the actual reality of the thing happening. So you can, in such great detail, visualize something so acute, like so in like with so much detail that it already becomes a reality um in its full-fledged form, to your brain. And because your brain is such a powerful tool, it's like, oh, okay, so it's already a reality. So then every single, energetic frequency, every single, chemical reaction, every single, aspect of you starts to operate from the idea that this thing is already like happening. So then you essentially, every single, essence of the entire essence of who you are then starts operating from that this thing already exists. And when you start operating from that place, then you're operating on an entirely different frequency. And arguably, in my opinion, it's like, well, if thoughts carry energy, and energy is, it can be measured in, I'm going to go with the word like a frequency. And so if that frequency is where that visualization happens, and then once your brain essentially gets tricked into believing that the visualization is true, then all of the essence of who you are then rises to that same frequency. And so then that's how, manifestation, in my opinion, happens, because you are then like critically aligned with the reality of that thing. And so, I there's just uh it's just a really like powerful practice. And then because I've been, over the past couple of months, like I said in the beginning, studying the energetics of, gemstones, crystals, herbs, these kinds of things, as far as like apothecary studies and Wicca and things like that. Like, what made these things so powerful and such, like, what made them, carry so much weight that people are still, practicing and talking about it today. And so then I went back to the idea that, each crystal is made up of, different properties, so that you have like a rose quartz, you have a moss agate. There, I'm just literally looking. I have pyrite. Like, I have an entire huge basket of them sitting in front of me. You have carnelian. Like, all of these, the ones I just named, I'm just now holding in my hands. It's like all of these are different. They're like the same, but they're different. And so each one of these has its own energetic frequency. And so, where people talk about, oh, rose quartz is about self love. It's like, what if, like, self love is the concept that is digestible for humans? So, like, we couldn't say, oh, rose quartz has a frequency of, I don't know, let me just make something up, like 44 hertz. So, that's the frequency of like your solar plexus or whatever. Like, that's the frequency that when, like, for you personally, when your solar plexus, when you can align that chakra with that frequency, it unlocks something inside of you that is like essentially raising your entire essence into a place that feels more confident, that feels more capable, that feels more powerful, or whatever self love means for you. And so it's like when you concentrate your energetics on like working together with a rose quartz, and you deeply visualize um what that frequency, or what that visualize, like what self-love means for you, and you completely embody that with like the concentrated energy of a rose quartz. So like, and when I say concentrated, I mean, is there's like elemental magic, and I don't, and when we think magic, we're like, oh, fairies and wizards and things like that, but I quite literally mean like the transmutation of how we access the frequency of these um objects. So like this rose quartz, it's like, could you, you want to transmute it through water? Could you do water magic that way? Like, is there like when you're doing candle magic, and so that's, fire and smoke, like burning is air, and, burying things, that's earth. And so you use these, like the prominent elements um, the earth, and or like of the reality and the life that we live in, to better access the frequencies and infuse those frequencies or link. Because then a whole other thing is like, oh, so when you so if you take the body out of it, energy, the energy has no seams. There's no place where energy stops and then continues on. It's seamless energy on that plane, on that part of thing. There's energy everywhere. Energy is carried through the air, through the molecules and everything in the air. And so like there's no distance between the energy of what and who you are and what's happening in that visualization, or those thought patterns, those things inside of you, and the energy that's inside of this rose quartz. But it's like, how do we become stronger and be able to access that frequency? So then our solar plexus is, and I could just be getting that chakra completely wrong, so please forgive me, but that's the example. It's like, so then our solar plexus is directly, linked to the energetic frequency of the rose quartz, which already has, because it's like stable. The rose quartz never, like, it is what it is. It's just like it's like an object. It's stable in that it doesn't, the energy of it doesn't change. It can, like be super discharged in the fact that, like, then you'd have to recharge it with energy of, other things that are a larger energy source. So like the sun, the moon, and then you can even concentrate it through like selenite and that's thing. And now I'm getting really, really ahead of myself here. But essentially, I just think it's really cool to think about it like this, is like, if everything has energy and everything has a signature, like an energetic signature, so every time I pick up a stone, it's a different kind, it's a different frequency, or it's like a different, that's just like the simple way of me putting it. But it's like, oh, these things are then stable frequencies, and the only, variable inside of them is that if they are, you know, um, energetically charged or infused or not. And in order to recharge them and cleanse them, because once they do a job, like once you, it's like when you collectively bring energy together, it obviously changes. That's how molecules and everything works. And so if you use a stone and you want to, use it for this visualization exercise to access your sacral chakra and bring you closer to something that feels like confident and radiant self-love, then there's something to be said about the fact that it carries like that visualization inside of it. And the next time you maybe want to use it for a friend, or you want to use it for a different visualization exercise, like self-love, like personal self-love, or rose quartz signifies love in general, so maybe you want to do it for you want a different outcome with the relationship you're currently in. You want to open yourself to better communication with your partner. And so rose quartz can obviously help with that as far as like that frequency. That's why like you can't pinpoint and say, oh, it's just one thing. It's like, oh, well, on this frequency, it's like when you have a note, that note is not, and when you play in music, like that note is not singular to one song, but you can play one note in many different genres of songs, and it's still powerful and necessary and meaningful, but it's not just one. The note isn't just singularly for one thing. And that's, I think, how energy kind of works inside of herbs and crystals and things out in the world. And that's why at the end of the day, when I come back and I work with my clients and I say, before you can't run before you walk. And so you want to change the outcome. You want the outcome in your life, but we can't, change the outcome if the roots of the plant is still planted in, dead soil. And so we have to let go and we have to look at where all of these beliefs and these values come up, because every time that you repeat these beliefs and values to yourself, knowingly or not, you are like quite literally giving yourself an energetic signature that is like a lower vibration than the things that you want. And so that's just not feasible. You can't keep saying that you're lazy or that you're, worthless, or that you're, I hate even saying like negative things. You get what I mean? Like, you can't keep saying those things, and you can't keep telling yourself that you're like overweight or whatever, and then expect that every single time you go to the gym, like that's like just by action, that's going to raise your frequency into something that, changes your body or makes you feel more confident. Like, you can't just expect to bloom a healthy and incredible sunflower from soil that's completely tainted. Just doesn't work that way. And so like all of this stuff and all of these tools that, especially that I've been studying the last couple of months, and then on top of it, like channeling has really come into play, because it's like when meditation and unlocking these portals of being able to poignantly access these frequencies, and frequencies from, ancestry and your spirit guide team. And it's just, I genuinely think like a spirit guide team is just the transmutation of energy from your ancestors, or like people that, that like unknowingly have influenced the lineage of your soul's journey. And that's probably sounds a little bit wackadoo, but that's what I believe. And so when you want to access that energetic frequency to help you with guidance or confidence or a direction to move in, then you've got to, with your entire being, believe that you can access it and that you're worthy of accessing it. And you're not going to be able to do that unless you like really look at the soil that all of your thoughts and all of yourself is planted in. And that requires like a journey walk through your subconscious mind. And to be honest, like I said in the beginning, it's really hard and challenging thing to do by yourself, because all we have is our own experience. So how do we create separation between our own, like between being able to see what is true for us and what isn't ours to be carrying through our subconscious mind? And I think that's where the help of therapy's really, done wonders for me, but also coaching and community. It's perspective. That's why conversations are super important. But anyway, this entire episode is such a like a mind fuck, and I want to say I'm sorry, but I really feel like I needed to actually verbally process all of this in and of myself. And if I gave you a brain fry, then, well, go just drink some water. Go drink some water. I'm not going to apologize. I feel like I've hid this part of myself for a really long time. And if that's the only thing that you take away from all of this 24 minutes into this episode, or 25 minutes into this episode, is that life is, time is too fast. It goes too fast for us to be anything less than who we are. And this is a huge part of me. These connections between quite literally like mind, body, and the energetics of spirit. And this is something that I believe in. This is something that I am honing my own personal access to. And this is something that will come into my work. And it's the most excited I've ever been about anything. And now I'm offering the first 10, they're called Soul Alchemy Sessions. I'm offering at a discounted price because obviously, like, I'm new to bringing this out into the public and bringing this to the feet of people that I love and I care about. And I want to be able to serve people in this way because I genuinely think that that's what my soul was called here to do, is to be the conduit and the bridge between the shadow of the conditioning in society and breaking it down so that you can get in better touch with your soul and who you are and who you actually want to be. So it's my honor. I'm excited about it. It's quite literally the one relationship that's been consistent my entire life is the one that I've had with my intuition. And I finally feel like I get to use this gift to help serve the people I love and the world around me. And there's nothing that feels like a bigger honor to do with my life. So, again, if you're out there thinking, I just want to have purpose and I don't know what that purpose is, my advice to you is to find out what support really feels like for you and then go out and find it ruthlessly. And if that means, working with me, if that means, finding a different coach or going to therapy, but do take the first steps because nobody else is going to fight for you, but you're worth fighting for. And there are no exceptions to that. All right. I love you so much. It means the world to me that you spend time with me and that you listen to my wild brain. Expect more of this. Truly, expect more of this. But I love you, and I hope you have a wonderful week. And until next time, like we always say, I love you. I mean it 100%. My inbox is always open. Book a soul alchemy session with me. It's only $50 right now for a 45-minute session. After those 10 sessions, the price is going up to $111. And I feel it in my bones. Like there's just so many people that their soul needs to be directly spoken to. And I know that I'm the person that can do it. So let's fucking go. Until next time, always stay hungry.